the therapist's chair. The first time Dr. Evelyn Hart met her new patient, the woman refused to sit down. She stood by the window, pale hands trembling against the glass, eyes locked on something outside that Evelyn couldn't see. The room was silent except for the faint hum of the air vent and the tick of the old clock on the wall, a sound Evelyn had once found soothing, but now only seemed to mark time as something fragile, dissolving. "I don't like chairs," the woman whispered finally. "Every time I sit, they come closer." Evelyn wrote something down in her leather-bound journal. "And who comes closer, Ms. Vale?" The woman turned. Her eyes were blue, but not just blue. Sharp, winter blue, like ice that hid deep water beneath. "The ones I hurt," she said. In 20 years of practice, Evelyn had heard every kind of delusion. Ghosts, conspiracies, parallel lives. Trauma could twist memory into any shape it needed. But there was something about Clara Vale that made her uneasy. Perhaps it was the way she spoke. Not as if she believed she was haunted, but as if she had simply accepted it. She told Evelyn that every night she saw them, figures standing in the corner of her room, watching. A man with burned hands, a little boy dripping river water, a woman with glass in her hair. "They whisper," Clara said, voice trembling. "They tell me what I did, what we did." Evelyn noted the phrasing. "We did." When she asked what that meant, Clara only smiled, a small, broken smile that didn't belong on a face so young. "You'll remember soon enough." That night, Evelyn couldn't sleep. She tried reading. She tried a glass of wine. But every time she closed her eyes, she saw that patient's face. And behind her, something blurred, something moving in the shadows of her mind. At one point, she thought she heard a whisper. "Evelyn." She sat up, heart pounding. The room was dark except for the streetlight filtering through the blinds. The therapist's chair, her favorite old leather seat by the window, seemed darker than the rest of the room. She got up, approached it. Nothing. Just her reflection in the window, pale and tired. Still, she moved the chair to the other side of the room before going back to bed. In their next session, Clara looked calmer, almost serene. She sat down this time, right in Evelyn's chair. "How are you feeling today?" Evelyn asked carefully. Clara tilted her head. "Do you ever think about the things you forget?" Evelyn blinked. "You mean memory repression?" "No," Clara said softly. "I mean the things you choose not to remember." Her voice had changed. It was colder, steadier. She began describing a series of visions: a house by the sea, a girl screaming, a car submerged in water. "I see her every night," Clara whispered. "The one in the back seat. She's still calling your name." Evelyn froze. "Excuse me?" Clara smiled faintly. "You should know. You were driving." Evelyn ended the session early. When she got home, her hands wouldn't stop shaking. She poured herself another glass of wine, then a second. The sound of the liquid hitting the glass made her flinch. She hadn't thought about that night in years. Or maybe she never had. Maybe she'd never wanted to. The rain, the headlights, the flash of water, the little girl screaming, and then the silence. Her therapist had told her it wasn't her fault. That trauma can build new walls, new memories to protect the mind. But as Evelyn looked across her living room, her eyes landed on the old photograph on the shelf. Her, years younger, smiling beside a woman who looked almost identical to Clara. Her breath caught. No, that wasn't possible. She picked up the photo, hands trembling. But when she turned it over, she found something written on the back in neat cursive. "Forgive yourself." Her stomach turned. She hadn't written that. The next morning, Evelyn arrived at her office early. She needed answers. But when she opened the door, her journal was already open on the desk. Pages had been turned. Words circled, and at the bottom of the last page, someone had written, in her own handwriting, "You can't treat her, Evelyn. She's you." The room went silent. The hum of the vent stopped. The clock on the wall froze. From the corner of her eye, she saw movement. A shape. Sitting in the therapist's chair. "Clara?" she whispered. The figure smiled, a mirror version of her own face. "It's time to remember." The room began to blur. She heard the rush of water, the scream, the crash. And then, the chair, the sound of it scraping back. She looked down and saw her hands, wet, trembling, covered in mud. The walls seemed to breathe. The voices returned. The same ones Clara described. The man with burned hands. The child by the river. The woman with glass in her hair. They surrounded her now. "You promised to help us," one whispered. "You forgot us," another said. "You killed us." Evelyn pressed her hands to her ears and screamed. When she looked again, the office was empty. The chair sat quietly in the corner, the leather dark and gleaming. And sitting in it was no longer Clara Vale, but Evelyn herself. When the secretary found her the next morning, Evelyn was sitting perfectly still, eyes open, lips curved in a faint, peaceful smile. The journal lay open in her lap, a new entry written neatly in the margin. Session complete. The patient remembers everything. Outside, the wind rattled the window. The old clock began to tick again, and in the quiet hum of the office, somewhere deep in the leather folds of that worn, familiar chair, something whispered, softly, patiently. "Next session begins soon."